And anyway, you'll find out that I get carried away with my stories sometimes. This is my life. This is the stuff that means something to me. This is what I dreamed of since I was a kid, and there I sat. And things went really well with Loretta for about a year. And then I realized, you know, it looked to me like I was just a tax writer, because she never really even listened to any of my songs. And I don't know why she would. She was writing. She'd already written Coal Miner's Daughter, and she was writing one hit after another all by herself. She didn't need me. So anyway, I parted ways with Miss Loretta. On the best of terms, I still love her to this day. She's one of the sweetest people you'll ever meet. But I went on down the road to another publishing company, and that's when my life really changed. Because there was another guy writing there, another guy, and his name was Guy. I didn't know much about Guy Clark. I had never really, I'd heard his name around, but I didn't know much about him. And one day I'm looking out the window there, and I see this old beat-up Jeep roll into the parking lot. And this big old tall Texas boy with wore-out jeans and boots, and he comes stumbling out of that old Jeep and moseying up to the door, and I pointed at him out the window. I said, "Who is that?" They said, "That's Guy Clark, and you need to get to know him." I said, "Yeah, I think I do." Turns out he, I don't know why, but he kind of plucked me out of the group, and we started getting to know each other, and he said, "Verlon, I want you to help me to make a record." He said, I'm about to make my first record. I think it was like in 11 years he hadn't made a record. And he said, "I need to make a record and I ain't got no money. So I want you to help me." I said, "Well, sure, I'll be glad to." So we went down in the studio and we made a record called Old Friends. And that's what we became. Immediately. It's hard to believe that you can become old friends almost immediately, but that's what happened. I knew it, he knew it, we just clicked. We knew that we were supposed to be in each other's lives. So we finished that record, and the guy said, "Well, now you're going to have to go out on the road with me and play them guitar licks that you played on the record." I said, "Well, I got a lot going on. Maybe I can go for a few weeks." 26 years later, I was still out there with Guy Clark. But Guy changed my world in so many ways, and I'm going to talk about many of the ways that he changed my life tonight. The first way that he changed my life was we were getting ready to go out on the road after that little record was completed, and Guy said, "Verlon, I want to show you something." You know, I was trying to be a big country singer. I thought I needed a bus and a band and a manager, and I actually had landed a contract with Capitol Records. And y'all may not know this, but in Nashville, when you get a record contract, they also issue you a hairstylist. So I had all that stuff and a hairstylist. And Guy was looking at me one day, and he shook his head and he said, "Verlon," he said, "come go on the road with me." He said, "I want to show you." He said, "You don't need a band, and you don't need a bus. You don't need a manager, and you damn sure don't need a hairstylist." And he said, "What you need," and I remember it so plain, these are his exact words. He said, what you need is a satchel full of good songs." He said, "If you got a satchel full of good songs, you can go anywhere in the world." He said, "There's little listening rooms. They're all over Europe. They're in Asia." He said, "They're everywhere you want to go." He said, "You might even wind up like in Raleigh, North Carolina one night, in somebody's living room. You never know what might happen, but you've got to have the songs, Verlon." And he took me out there on the road, and he showed me that. And he showed me that this is what I really was meant to do and what I always wanted to do, but I just didn't know it.